Welcome, welcome everyone to tonight's Acts 2 workshop. Finding the balance, caring for yourself while caring for a loved one with dementia. I'm Dr. Rob Glukov, servant leader of the Acts 2 project and professor, Florida State University College of Medicine. In case you are unfamiliar with the term Acts 2, it stands for African American Alzheimer's Caregiver Training and Support Project 2. Folks, I am very excited about the prospects of tonight's workshop. The workshop offers practical suggestions for family caregivers to balance self-care while supporting their loved ones with dementia. Caregivers are often faced with challenges in assisting their loved ones to eat healthy foods, take their medications, and bathe more regularly. As a caregiver myself, I know how these activities may benefit from self-monitoring and practicing compassion. Our first two presenters, Dr. Linda Miles and Pastor Brett Cooper, will illustrate easy-to-use techniques such as observation and active listening, self-guided relaxation, and loving kindness prayer. They also will provide tips for thinking outside the box and creating opportunities for humor. Our third presenter, Acts 2 Project Coordinator, Mrs. Tomeka Norton-Brown, will provide information about free caregiving skills training and support and community-based dementia care resources. Before I introduce this evening's presenters, I want to recognize our partners who have contributed both resources and guidance in the development of the Acts 2 Dementia Caregiver Workshop Series. Acts 2's primary collaborators are the Florida State Primitive Baptist Convention, the Florida Progressive Missionary and Educational Baptist Convention, Florida General Baptist Convention, Florida Church of God in Christ, African Methodist Episcopal Church, 11th Episcopal District, and Florida State University College of Medicine. Turning now to tonight's three inspiring speakers, our first presenter, Dr. Linda Miles, received her PhD in counseling psychology from Florida State University. She has worked in the field of marital and family therapy for over 38 years, focusing on stress reduction, resilience, and relationship building. She has authored several books, the most recent of which is Change Your Story, Change Your Brain. Linda was the primary caregiver for the love of her life, her husband, Dr. Robert Miles. She was determined to provide a welcoming home environment to ensure he had optimal quality of life with family and friends. Our second presenter, Brett Cooper, is pastor at Grace Chapel in DeLand, Florida. Following his graduation from Emmanuel College, Brett worked with several groups in North Carolina. He later decided to pursue a master's studies, a graduate studies at Southwestern Christian University, where he obtained his master's degree in Christian leadership. Subsequently, he served as pastor for 10 years at Way Church in Prince George, Virginia. In June 2022, Pastor Brett moved back to Tallahassee to help his mom, Linda, to care for his stepdad with late-stage dementia, Dr. Robert Miles. Our third presenter, Mrs. Tomeka Norton-Brown, is coordinator of the Acts 2 project at FSU College of Medicine. She has worked in the area of survey development and evaluation for the past 25 years. Tomeka has served as a caregiver for her dear aunt and uncle with dementia and has a passion for helping others. In her role as Acts 2 coordinator, Tomeka has been a great source of encouragement and support for literally hundreds of family care partners of older adults with dementia across Florida and across the U.S. She is also a strong leader by example in her church community. During the course of this workshop, I encourage viewers to share questions to be answered after the two presentations. using the text message function of Facebook Live. We also will have a 20-minute question and answer period following the last presentation. And now, Dr. Linda Miles and Pastor Brett Cooper.
I believe Pastor Brett is going to start us off.
Yes. Yeah, and well, I'll get us started. I've got a little slideshow that we're going to put up for you guys where I want to show you a graphic of a person who is walking on a rope. And that's a lot of times what you need to keep in mind is keep that visual in mind, that being a caregiver is finding a balance, caring for yourself while caring for your loved one who has dementia. And so that's what we want to be able to explain to you tonight. I'm going to move on to another graphic here I want to bring up for you and say that you've got to find that balancing act between caring for yourself and caring for your loved one. Every caregiver lives between these two responsibilities: the responsibility of making sure that you keep yourself together, at the same time helping the person that you're with. I do want to say this to you, that I realize that there are going to be moments where it's got to be all about them because there is crisis. I get that. It's kind of like the movie Interstellar, where the spaceship's flying out of control and there's no way for him to dock with the other spaceship he has to dock with. And the computer tells him it's impossible, but he says, it's impossible, but it's necessary. I get that those moments are going to come. I understand that. But for the most part, you're going to have times to be able to have margin. You're going to have times to be able to relax. And when you do have those times, it's important that you care for yourself in the same way that you're going to care for the person that you care about so much. If either side gets too heavy, then balance gets lost. And so healthy caregiving requires caring for both people, both you as the one that is the caregiver, caring for yourself, and caring for the one that you're caring for. I have another slide that we're going to bring up, my wonderful mother, Dr. Linda Miles here, I'd love to hear a little bit about open reflection and just you taking us into this moment of what it means, where we can close our eyes and imagine ourselves with someone we deeply love. Dr. Miles?
Thank you, Brett. First of all, I want to share how blessed I was that we were able to keep my husband at home for 3 years because
Yes.
Brett moved his family in with us,
Mm.
and he and I worked shifts. And you know what? That gave each of us a time to recover. I know Brett would go walk. I would pray. I would drop into myself. But working shifts really helped us. So that's something I would encourage people to do if you have other people who can help you. When they study people having self compassion, that is feeling for yourself, what we often find is we have an easier time feeling compassion if we're thinking what we would tell a friend. Isn't that interesting? I know when I was raised, I was told never be selfish. That's the worst thing you can be.
Mm.
And many of you may have gotten that message. Well, that's a formula for you getting sick or depression, and then you're no longer going to be an effective caregiver. So I'd like you to just take a moment, just close your eyes for a minute, and imagine someone you love is taking care of a family member with dementia. And what would you hope they do for themselves? What would that look like? Someone you love, a child, a sibling, someone you really care about. What would you want them to do? And then think about how they would be as a healthy caregiver. What would that look like? And you need to do this from time to time because, again, so often we don't feel the compassion for ourselves. It was kind of programmed out of it, was it out of us as it was for me. And I have to do this practice like, well, gee, what would I tell someone else? I need to drink my own Kool-Aid. So, yeah, you can open your eyes and we can move to the next slide.
Yeah, well, that she's absolutely right, because I remember going through this with you, Mom, where I would have to say, "Look, let's imagine that there's a person who's," and I would describe your age and totally describe you and say, "What would you tell that person?" Because I knew you were so about helping him that you couldn't possibly think of yourself. It really helps to have some people around you who will be honest and really care about you and look out for you. So very, very good advice there, and something we need to be able to tell each other. So let me say this: you can't pour from an empty cup. You see in this graphic here something that anybody who's ever been on a plane, you know what this looks like. You know, the stewardess, they bring those masks out, and what do they say? They say, if the mask drops down, put your mask on first before helping someone else. Make sure your seatbelt's securely fastened before you help someone else with theirs. So one thing that we want to be able to say here is self-care isn't selfish. And I'm just kind of like drilling down a little bit more on what Dr. Miles was saying there. Self-care is not selfish. Never feel like you don't deserve to take care of yourself. Why? Because you have limits. And I know that should seem obvious and seem like low-hanging fruit, but the truth of the matter is many of us forget that in reality, that we have limits. And so it's a good thing for you to think about what would I suggest to someone else if they were in my shoes. Recognizing your limits allows you to continue to care well. The more that you do that, the better you can do. I read a book recently that talked about camels and how they possess this power. They have the ability to just go for miles and miles and miles without any water, without any rest, without anything. And then all of a sudden, they just collapse. Boom. And for humans, we're in the same way. In the book I was reading, he was saying, well, we can rally, we can get it together. But when we crash hard. So the key here is to never get to that crash, to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. You cannot effectively care for someone else if you're completely emotionally depleted. So make sure you're building back up your reserves, and make sure you're putting on your mask before you get put on somebody else's. So I want to move us to another slide here and allow Dr. Miles to just take over here and helping us understand both worlds. Dr. Miles?
Well, first of all, I want to build on something you said.
Mm,
Ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask people for help. Thank God I had
mm,
Brett who saw I was on my last leg. He saw it because you know what? I was told to never be selfish, so I couldn't ask anyone for help. And he saw me and he called me and he said, Mom, you can't keep doing this by yourself. So we're not all lucky enough to have that. And I was so blessed to have a kid who did that. But don't be afraid to ask other family members to help you when you need relief. So, understanding both your worlds. First of all, know that when someone has dementia, sometimes the disease is speaking. So they
mm.
say things they don't mean. They say delusional things. They say things that make no sense. That's okay. Just say to yourself, that's the disease speaking, and you don't need to argue. You don't need to try to get into a discussion about it. Ironically, my husband, before he got dementia, was a psychiatrist. And he's the one who gave me the model of stepping into the world of people who do not have their right mind. So I learned it from him. I learned to listen to a delusion and not argue with it and just say, oh, so you think if you wrap your mobile home in foil, the space invaders won't attack you? Is that what you're saying? And they go, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. So he taught me, he taught me to do it. Um, so it was interesting because as he increased the amount of problems he had with the dementia, he didn't know who I was anymore. And he thought we were back in a psychiatric facility. And he would call our house the facility. And so one day I came in and he said, you know, I've been seeing you around the facility and I really like you. And I wonder, would you marry me? We'd been married for over 30 years. So we redid the ceremony. And I think sometimes acting out those things and making it fun for the family, which is what we did, is very meaningful. And I'll never forget that. Um, Remember that even though their frontal cortex, the part of their brain that can be logical, is offline, people with dementia are still very emotional. So, my husband taught me this too at the psychiatric hospital, to stay calm and use a calm voice.
Mm.
Also, I cannot overemphasize the importance of touch. I touched him a lot. I would rub on his arm, I would lean on him. And you know what? He took all that in. He took it all in. And how did I know? He had terminal lucidity at the end. And any of you who've heard of that term may know that there's a time for many people with dementia where they completely come back, often right close to the time they die. He was back and I taped him because it was him again. He knew me when he hadn't known me. And he said, you know, there are some things I haven't done well in my life. It's like he was reviewing his life. And he told me he wanted to be closer to God. But he also said, I stayed close to you.
Mm.
I did a good job of that. So I think that was so important that we did touch, that it helped me, because when you're connected to someone and you touch them, you also get positive chemicals. So the giving is receiving. And we know that touch from someone you love can reduce pain. Um, so love one another as thyself. So I know that Rob does that with his wife, that you heard from earlier. His wife also has dementia, his wife, Linda. And I know that he uses touch, he and Linda. And she is doing quite well. And I think part of it is because they do still retain that emotional connection. So remember, you can help emotionally regulate them. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So, what are some ways to manage your own emotions? Because guess what? We all lose it. One day I was sick and I said to my husband, don't you even care? I am sick and you don't seem to care. Well, he didn't even know who I was, much less what to do about someone that was sick. He couldn't remember he was a doctor. I did, but have people that you can vent to. I had a friend whose husband had dementia at the same time, and we would call each other and go, you will not believe what happened today. Um, and so she would call me and say, yeah, we got trapped in this. He was incontinent. We got trapped in this little bathroom and we couldn't get out. She said, I knew better than to take him to that restaurant, but I did it anyway. I was so mad. So, you know, we're human. Forgive yourself. Let go and let God. I did a prayer often, and it's the loving kindness prayer. And I'll share that with you. I would say to myself, let me be healed. God, let me be at peace. God, fill me with loving kindness. And then I would send it to Robert, to my husband, and I would send that thought to him. May you be healed.
Mm.
May you be at peace. And may you be filled with loving kindness. Now, I don't know what that had to do with anything, But I do know towards the end, my son and I had him convinced that he was in a resort. And
Yes.
so we would come in, and he loved boost drinks. So I was very fortunate about nutrition because he loved them. He thought they were a treat. And he would hold up his hand and toast us with a boost.
Yes.
So, yes. And Brett would go, "You like this resort?" And he'd be like, "Oh, yes." So, keep a sense of humor too. And have fun. They are delusional, and you can what's called pacing and leading in therapy. And in therapy, what we try to do is get into someone else's head before we lead them somewhere else. So don't try to lead them before you're in their head. So, in other words, you acknowledge that what they're saying, it makes sense to them. It's like,
Yes.
yes, I understand. You think we're surrounded. You need a gun. I got it. Now, of course, I had already removed all the guns. So I literally went to Walmart and bought a toy gun. And it fooled them. I put it in the drawer. I said, "See, there it is. So you've got your gun." But I couldn't have argued, "No, there's no one surrounding this house," because it wouldn't have gone anywhere because he believed it. So I just voted with my feet and went and got a toy gun. So you're going to need to be creative to protect you and that person. And the other thing I would share with you is when I went to Walmart and I told the people that were helping what was going on, I had 4 people helping me. They all had experience with dementia, and they were climbing up shelves and looking for the right gun. So, also take care of yourself by accepting the kindness of strangers, and you will be amazed how many people really care what's going on. So, let's go to the next slide about anger. Okay. This is something I learned from Robert when we worked at the psychiatric facility. And that is when people get really out of control, you need to keep your distance because they wouldn't mean to hurt you, but they could grab you and push you and hurt you. So Robert was 6'6" and he was a former athlete. So when he would lose his temper, which early on he did a lot before we got him on the right medication, I would make sure I was enough distance away with a calm voice with my back to the door so I wasn't cornered because I know it can cause fear in you. Um, so they're not going to remember what happened. He didn't remember. I eventually said, "Well, I have to go now." And that's a trick that I would use when I was, too worked up. So he actually took a chair and knocked out a wall. So I thought, I better be safe. So I walked out and I sat in the car for a while. Well, when I came back, he had calmed down. He didn't even remember the interaction. There would have been no point in me pushing that envelope. And just remember, holding on to anger is like drinking Drano and wanting someone else to die.
Yes.
So we can go to the next slide. So Brett, I'll let you start off with this. Brett was a virtuoso in humor, and then I'll add to what you're saying, Brett.
Well, yeah, but I think one of the things that helped was, I was on a drama team in college, and we used to do improv exercises. And one of the big ones is you have to determine in improv where you're going. Either everything's an argument or everything's an agreement. And so there's a great exercise in drama called yes and. And so no matter what someone says, you say, yes, and I'm going to do that. They say, well, I'm going to buy a new car. Yes, and I'll pay for it. No matter what, you're going to fall into that world. Well, that's kind of what it's like, because you have to realize that their fear, is real. Their fear, their feelings are real. And even if the situation isn't, so you have to enter into their world, and talking about this together, I remember the fire. I remember being with you, Mom, where he called in and he said, there's a starter fire over here in the corner, and you just have to kind of go into you're wondering what's a starter fire. First of all, he was just
How
seeing a
big is
light
a
from the sun.
starter fire?
Right, there's a
Yes.
starter fire,
Yes.
and you have to kind of like not lose it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, or talking about projections on the wall, things like that, or he would tell us, someone's outside. I remember having a whole episode of going out there. I said, okay, coming back in saying, listen, we've secured the perimeter. The place is safe. You can sleep easy tonight, and when you wake up in the morning, everything will be just fine. He also dealt with PTSD, so we had to come into that world and to calm that world and be able to help him through that. We didn't try to say, hey, that's not real, nobody's outside or anything like that. Just fall into the character and allow yourself to play that. When they think people are coming at you, you need to respond seriously to their fear. Now, here's the thing that you see us both doing. We're both chuckling because, as you see in that graphic, later on, you are allowed to laugh about this. And if you do not allow yourself some room for humor, it can really be a tough thing. So it is okay for you later on to have humor.
Not in front of them. We never did it in front of him.
No,
We
never
took
in front.
it seriously. Like one time he said, he kept calling me by his
Oh,
ex-wife's
yes.
name, not one of my favorite people. And he kept calling me her name. So I went in the kitchen and I said under my breath to Brett, she's dead. So I I got it out because it made me angry, but I didn't go argue with him and say, "Hey, that's your ex-wife. She's no longer on this earth." So yes, but the humor and the most humorous thing that happened in all the time, I would say, was a fabulous nurse's aide that we had,
Oh, yes.
Stephanie. And
Yeah.
Stephanie had a killer sense of humor and a great ability to deal with dementia. So she and I were changing Robert because he was incontinent. So we were changing him. He looks up at me and he goes, "Let's have sex." Well, I thought Stephanie was going to fall on the floor. Now, of course, she doesn't want to laugh at him, never. So she put her hand over her mouth and she walked out. So when she came back in, of course, he'd forgotten what he said. Only Stephanie was playing the song "Let's Get It On" for me. So, and of course, I'm like, oh my gosh. So
But that humor was healing for you, wasn't it? I
it
mean,
was
I
very
certainly,
healing. It was very
yes,
healing. So I found that the people who were best with dementia could do that. They
yeah,
could go from that situation, never laugh at the person, ever, ever. They're emotional. They understand you're putting them down. You don't want to talk down to them, you don't want to laugh at them. But golly, you go let it go yourself and be like, can you believe that? And I think Brett even saluted him about the
oh,
perimeter because
absolutely.
Robert was in the military and he did. He had PTSD because he was involved in the Vietnamese War. So it complicated what went on.
Yeah, he
So
said, "You go calm those men down," and I said, "Yes, sir." He said, and on the way out, he said, "That's an order."
I didn't know that. See,
Yeah, that's an
years
order. Yeah,
later, I didn't know till this minute that he said that's
right.
an order. But
Okay.
I'm not surprised. It's like, yes, sir.
Yes,
Gotcha.
sir.
Okay, the next slide, Brett, I think you're doing number 8.
Yeah. We're talking about stories from the journey. And of course, we just talked about securing the perimeter, which is a great one, and it's a great ability. I think I told him but I started making up. Listen, we've got these soldiers who are out here, and they're out here. There's no way anybody's coming in tonight. You're just going to be. You're going to be fine. All the imaginary fires, but I think one that really would be something else during sometimes during changing, time of changing, he would be in a basketball game and he'd get a hold of my arms, and start pulling at me. And I mean, all of a sudden he's a big guy too. So I had to really use my strength and he'd use his, but I'd realize we're in a basketball game here. So here again, finding the balance, understand it's okay to laugh later, but be serious in the moment and understand how to have those moments. I remember, but yeah, beautiful moments too. Well, that ceremony that we did was
Oh,
wonderful. And of course, if my daughter watches this later, she probably, as a 14-year-old, would be a little upset about it. But back then, she had her little unicorn, and her unicorns, she gave Dr. Miles the unicorn as well. So we had a unicorn wedding, and we had your wedding. I mean, it was it was wonderful. And just being able to have those family moments, those moments that we'll remember forever. But it's because we allowed that balance. So I think that what we need to do is realize that these moments become stories of love, and they become they're not stories of failure. They're stories of humor, and they're stories that we're able to tell other people later on that really help them through these times. So let's talk about that. This is something, Ma, I know that I want to go to the next slide where you're going to talk about
before you
calming. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
before you do that, can I add a couple of ceremonies that we did?
Oh, please.
Because
Yes.
you can still have family ceremonies. My stepson, grandkid, uh, joined the Navy, which is the branch my husband was in. He called him on video, and he had his Navy hat on a desk in front of him.
Mm, mm,
He was crying. He said, Papa Miles, Lieutenant Colonel Miles, they call it a lid. I just got my lid for the first time. And we're supposed to do our first salute to an
mm,
officer that they really admire. Dr. Miles, Lieutenant Colonel, this salute is for you. And
mm.
he saluted him. So you can still have incredibly meaningful moments. And Robert became emotional. So he didn't quite understand what was going on, but he understood the emotion. So we can switch to the next slide about how to calm yourself. Um, you know what? I used music for both of us. There was a time where Robert couldn't stand being around a TV because he believed what was going on the news. So I had to stop watching TV. So I would play opera in the back because he and I loved opera. And I could tell it calmed him. So, whatever kind of music they love would be good. Also, there are channels on YouTube that are just calming music that you can just play softly in the background. And I know there are a bunch of apps like that, but look for something that calms both of you that you play in the background. And what was so amazing is our favorite song, our favorite opera song was Time to Say Goodbye. Did
Mm.
he understand the words? I don't know. But he literally died in the middle of that song. He let go when the opera song Time to Say Goodbye was playing. So we don't know exactly what goes on with them. We don't know exactly what they're tracking, what they understand. But be careful what you say and do around them. So, other techniques you can do for calming, have to do with breath. One is box breathing, and I use that a lot, where you take 4 deep breaths through your nose and you hold it to the count of 4. And then you breathe out either to the count of 4 or to 8, depending on what feels comfortable to you. We know that that act of holding the breath can help our parasympathetic rest and digest system come more online, kind of like sleep. So that getting lots of sleep, uh, a friend of mine who played football said they told them to walk it off when they had injuries. Now they overdid that, but walk it off, go outside, walk. Bilateral movement, just walking can help you calm down. And no matter how many times you need to say it, keep reminding yourself, I'm going to let go and let God. Now, I also mentioned the emotional freedom technique. That is where you tap on places on your body that are associated with calming down. They're pressure points. They're what an acupuncturist uses to do medicinal things. So, but you can do it yourself. And what I'd encourage you to do is look at a video online that shows emotional freedom technique, and it will show you how to do it. But I liked being able to say to myself, I would be tapping on one of those places, and I would be thinking, even though I am anxious, I know I can be calm. So you keep reminding your unconscious, oh, I can go to a calm, peaceful place. And we also know there's a whole trove of research that you can switch your brain from anxious thinking to prayer, and that also can calm you down. I liked the loving kindness prayer, but you may have other prayers that you like. So when you're going, oh no, oh no, oh no, tell your brain, stop, because it's not helping you, it's hurting you. So you say, stop, and then you switch to prayer and you let go and let God. Okay, let's go to the next one.
Well, I wanted to touch on something that you were saying, and just from personal experience, I grew up with you helping me deal with things that would be highly anxious situations, and I obviously work around a lot of people who deal with a lot of anxiety and things like that. But sometimes people can think that if you're not getting anxious in a situation, you're not reacting, you're not showing fight, flight, freeze, that it's almost like something's wrong with you. And they'll say to you, well, why aren't you more upset? I think it's a good answer to say, because I've trained my brain not to be. And
Yes, that you
it's
trained your
okay.
brain to go to peace of mind.
That's right.
And we know that people who survived concentration camps, that's what they did. Viktor Frankl said, the Nazis can take my clothes, they can take my food, they can take my water, they cannot take my mind.
Yes.
You own your mind. And just reminding yourself of that. I own my own mind.
They said Ulysses S. Grant, he would be in massive battles and bullets are flying everywhere and all that's going on. And he had the ability to just see the battlefield beyond the battle. He had the
Yes.
ability to step out of all of that, calm down, and pay attention to the way to move forward in the midst of all the chaos. And I think that a lot of what you just showed in that slide and what you just talked about is great training for when you get into these situations, for when it is intense, that you understand that a calmed brain is a trained brain. A calmed brain is a brain that understands how to go to that place and developing skills. And like you said, that we live in a time, a wonderful era where there's so much training and so much ability. I tell you from personal experience, getting up in the morning at sunrise, taking a walk, getting hydrated, and taking some time, even the social interaction of having an animal. I'd take a dog for a walk, and every morning, and having that interaction first thing in the morning sets healthy cortisol levels so that whatever else is going to happen that day can be much calmer. And I think that that's not selfish. It's scheduled. I have a
Yeah, you
good friend.
need to practice inner peace, just like you
Yes,
practice working
work on it.
muscles. Yeah, that's why I wrote the Story Changer Brain with
Mm,
practices in it. There are things to do to
yes.
practice because in the brain, practice makes permanent.
Yeah. So you're working really hard at taking care of yourself while at the same time taking care of your loved one. So yeah,
Yes.
I think that's, having that love and kindness, um, having patience and compassion for your loved one and for yourself. That you're developing skills, learned behaviors to calm down and to be there for that other person, but not just for them, for you as well. What would you say, Dr. Miles, would be the single? If someone was asking on here, what would you say would be the single best thing that you could do to get calm in a very intensive situation when someone with dementia is really getting out of touch, they're getting angry, they're going through all that? What would you say is the single best advice that you could give?
To say that's the disease speaking,
That's
to
good.
understand you do not want to join up with the disease. But again, Brett, it's a practice. So
Yes.
people can't wait until the person is knocking the wall out with a chair to practice. The reason I could stay calm is I had practiced it for years and I had learned it from Robert. So it didn't all of a sudden come to me, but I knew what to do. I
Mm,
could see it and I knew what I needed to do, but that's because I have done it so much. I cannot overemphasize that. And I tell my clients that, like, okay, you can understand these are tools, but you got to practice them. They
yes.
have to become your go to in your brain.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's a wonderful psychiatrist named Dr. Egert. She was 14 when she was picked up and taken to Auschwitz concentration camp.
Mm,
And on the crowded train going there, her mother had a very bad feeling about the whole thing. And she said to her, honey, no matter what happens, don't let them have your mind. Well, you keep your mind. You keep your own ability to calm yourself down. And I'll add, Brett teases me now because when he was growing up, he'd go, I got the meanest teacher. She's so mean. She's horrible. And I'd be like, well, great. This is a really good learning opportunity because you're going to see so many difficult people. And when he first became a pastor, he called me and he goes, Mom, you were right. There are a lot of difficult people. But you know what? You can learn to stay calm. I said, that's right. You don't have to step into their problems.
yes. Yes.
So,
Oh, so good. Well, we want to go to the last slide here, and just be able to share this, that balance is not perfection. There's a great Greek word, teleos, and it means complete. It doesn't mean being perfect. It means being at your best. It means giving your absolute best. And I think that you can do that. That doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect. It just means that you're going to give your best. So, if we can encourage you in anything, it's make sure that you're giving your best, but forgive yourself for not being perfect. Balance is about continually adjusting. It's about realizing when you fall, getting back up, and trying again. So every day, ask yourself, how are they doing? But also ask yourself, how am I doing? How am I doing? Healthy caregiving requires both answers, not just one. So, Dr. Moss.
just really quick, the other thing I would do along those lines is I would just let my attention scan through my body. during the day and feel where I was holding tension and imagine a healing light helping with that tension. So just let you do body scans, just notice, maybe turn it into a prayer. But I think there's really something to be said to pray without ceasing.
Mm.
So I think that's it for us. Thank you so much for being caregivers, and I know you're interested in this because you're doing it. And boy, do we ever understand how difficult it is, and good for you.
Yeah, well, let me ask a question because I know we haven't. I've been kind of looking at our comments and things like that, and I just would remind people that if they have a question, that would be good. But I wanted to ask one here. What would you say, Dr. Miles? What would you say to somebody who says, "Well, I feel guilty about laughing and having humor"? Um, how could somebody maybe emotionally talk to their heart about that and deal with the fact that if they feel a little guilty about having humor?
Yeah, it's just like, okay, I'm doing this for me. I'm not hurting my loved one. Oh my God, please never laugh at them. So you're not, it's not negatively affecting them, but you're taking the negativity and finding a way for you to deal with it that's healthy. I had to say something. I was so mad about him calling me by his ex wife's name. I'm telling you, I was cooking. So it helped me to go tell you, Brett, she's dead. Okay. And for us to laugh. He didn't hear that. I would not ever have him hear that. So just tell yourself, they don't hear it. They don't know it. I'm not hurting them. I am a person. And you know what? I knew at the end of the day, Robert would want me to be happy. He didn't want me to be miserable. I knew what he would want for me.
Oh, that's incredibly helpful. Well, it's a great honor to do this, isn't it, Mom? I mean, just be
Yes,
able
it is.
to do
Thank you
that.
so
Yeah,
much.
yeah, thank you for allowing us to be a part of this, Doc.
That was so powerful,
Mm,
just so powerful, so moving. Um, as a care partner of my wife with dementia, it certainly engendered a number of thoughts. I just wanted to throw an idea out to both of you
oh,
that was discussed, and it was a theme, more or less a thread in the conversation. Dr. Miles, you mentioned that your husband was your teacher,
Yes.
and Pastor Brett, in some ways, uh, he was also a teacher for you, Colonel.
oh, very much.
But
Yeah,
but also your mom is was a teacher for you.
definitely.
So I feel very strongly about promoting the voices of persons, especially in the middle and later stages of the condition, noting that they are our teachers. Now,
Good
you happen to
point.
be teachers yourselves. You're teaching me personally and teaching others. But could you reflect on that theme somewhat? Because I think there was great strength in recognizing Dr. Robert Miles' accomplishments and how you were touched personally by them.
Rob, what I realized is how quickly life can change. That was one of the
Mhm.
huge lessons. It's like, here is the person that was my mentor at a hospital. That's how I met him. And then he has dementia. That was huge. It's like, wow, you never know. Cherish every day because you do not know what's going to happen. So that was huge. Also, it taught me about balancing. As much as I would tell people to balance, I had to really drink my own Kool Aid. I had to really do it. Um, I, Also, it was such a bonding thing with Brett. I was so proud of him that he just naturally knew how to be with someone with dementia. And I don't know how, but he did. He was a natural. Whereas other people would be like so freaked that this was Dr. Miles, who had been the big boss, and then here he was. They didn't want to see it, but Brett could look it in the face. And so it was something about acceptance, Rob, and watching his ability to accept.
Well, I think we told him at some point, we said,
Yes,
the
Brett.
way that you feel is the way all of us have felt all our lives. You're just becoming human all of a sudden. So,
Does he know we can't hear him, Rob? Can you hear him?
oh,
Yes.
Okay.
oh, okay. But yeah, I certainly, I remember watching him and learning from him. I remember seeing him, get up early in the morning with loads of papers and just lay them out with a cup of coffee. And I remember thinking, boy, how am I going to be successful in college? And I would watch him and I would think, that's how it works. That's what you do. You're dedicated. You work hard. And seeing that, I think those moments, we learned so much from him. And so much from the way, not just how smart he was, but his ability to go at life and his drive and his determination. So it was a great honor to be able to take care of him in those moments and during those times.
Yeah. I just have another thread, and then we'll move to Tomeka Norton-Brown. But one other thread that really moved me is for both of you, the power of prayer. And the loving kindness that let me be healed, let me be at peace, let me be filled with loving kindness. And you don't have to be in a denomination, you don't have to profess a faith to build on inner strength, although that's more or less how I roll, or how the two of you roll. But can you speak more to the power of building inner strength, no matter what your faith tradition or belief system might be, and how that can be used for healing?
Yeah, I mean, Rob, it's switching your brain from really just to focus on you, like, ooh, I'm so messed up and I didn't do this right and I'm angry and whatever, to a more of a peaceful place. So there's all kinds of meditative things that are available online. There's an app called Calm that people can use. Um, Again, in my book, I write practices people can use, visualizing a very calm time, working with the breath and remembering when you felt calm and reminding your brain, oh, I can go there. Um, Prayer is a great way to do it, but there are other ways as well that don't involve um, prayer, that involve just looking at the big picture. Like, okay, I can picture something in my mind. And like I said about the woman on the train, I can picture something on my mind, even though this is a horrible, hideous situation. I can picture something calm and peaceful. Viktor Frankl thought about love of his wife. He focused on love. So you can focus on love. And for me, focusing on loving kindness was huge. So you can do those things without having a certain faith tradition.
Pastor Brett, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, so I've just seen that there are so many times that my mind can settle on something, but my heart knows there's more. And you do not want to ignore your heart. Your heart needs meditation. Your heart needs calm. Your heart needs to know your heart needs to know that you're going to be able to move forward. I think taking care of Dr. Miles was my heart knowing that there was this time to move. My wife and I, we could have lived in Virginia, in Eastern Virginia, for the rest of our lives. We absolutely loved it there, but our hearts knew we were on an assignment. And I think there's something to be said for a grace being on your life to be able to do something. And it's important to pay attention to that, because your heart knows where that is and knows what's possible. Your brain my brain wants to play it safe, but my heart knows that there's more. And so I think that we should pay attention to that, especially when it comes to caring for someone else and getting outside of ourselves. It's, hey, that heart's crying out for, I want to be able to help this person, and I want to be able to give all that I have. And so with that, being able to have, and I'm a strong, strong believer in prayer and getting into that quiet place. I heard someone once describe it this way. They said, I talk to God. And so someone asked, well, what do you say? I said, well, I don't say anything at all. Well, what does God say to you? He doesn't say anything. Well, I thought you said you talk to God. You said, I do. Mm-hmm. And to understand prayer is to understand that there's this quiet inward resolve that you're given in being able to get into that moment where your heart is warmed, and you're able to take that grace that's on your life and understand the assignment that you're in. So that certainly helped me through those times.
Thank you. That's so helpful. I know we're going to have 20 plus minutes, but I want to be sure, Dr. Miles and Pastor Brett, for Tomeka to make her presentation, and subsequently we'll build on the topics that we've raised about, in particular, what you're just talking about now. Really, the power of honoring your calling, and we can talk about that. I'll leave it at that. Now we have. I'm sorry to shift, but we're going to shift now to Tomeka Norton-Brown, and we're going to pick up later. She has a lot to share. She's a person of great faith, and having been a care partner herself for her dear uncle and aunt, we now have Tomeka Norton-Brown, Acts 2 project coordinator. Thank you, T.
Oh, you're welcome so much, Dr. G. Okay, you can bring the slides up. Okay, you can go to the next slide. Okay, what I'm going to do is just describe our Acts 2 program of services. So we offer 3 major types of services. The first is our faith-integrated group skills training and support for distressed African-American caregivers of older adults with dementia across Florida, or our 12-session program. And I'll describe more about that in just a moment. We also offer dementia awareness presentations and workshops at faith community and elder care venues, as well as we have a very active social and print media that reaches across Florida and the U.S. We have individual telephone-based problem solving and information and referral consultations. This is available to all dementia caregivers and other stakeholders across Florida and the U.S. Next slide, please. Okay, for our Acts 2 12-session program, in order to qualify for this program, you must be African American or Black Caribbean, relative, and I loosely define relative caregiver. So I always tell my caregivers you can be related by blood or related by love. You must spend 6 hours a week in caregiving. Does not mean that the person has to live in the home with you. If you are getting medications, if you are making doctor's appointments, taking them to the doctor, I count all of that toward those 6 hours of caregiving. Let me also, and it's for caregivers that reside in the state of Florida. Let me also state that every single service we provide in Acts 2 is absolutely free. So whether it be the 12-session program, the dementia presentations, or the information and referral and problem solving, no caregiver, no group will ever incur any type of cost from receiving our services. So for our Acts 2 12-session program, it includes 7 group skills building. So we pair 3 caregivers in a group and then 5 individual sessions. All of those sessions are delivered weekly over toll-free telephone by what we call trained lay pastoral care facilitators. Those are simply lay persons, so not pastors, from the faith community or the community at large, who we train to be able to deliver the 12-session program. In those individual sessions with the facilitator, they focus on goal setting and problem solving to address those concerns that have been identified by the caregivers. Most caregivers who come into our program have 2 or 3 things that they want to work on. Some of their goals are caregiving related, some of them are personal in nature, but they get those individual sessions to work one on one to try to come up with some strategies to help them achieve their goal. Next slide, please. So our program, for the 12-session program, it has 6 major components. So there's the overview of the basic characteristics of the dementias, or Dementia 101. So every caregiver who comes into our programs gets Dementia 101. What is dementia? What are the stages? We also do relaxation training that's combined with calming prayer and or meditation. There's a myth that relaxing just means you get in your favorite chair, woosah, and then you're automatically relaxed. But in actuality, there's an entire process of having mind, body, and spirit enter into the state of relaxation. So we teach our caregivers how to relax. Let me also state that you will hear us talk a lot about prayer and meditation. So yes, we are a faith-based program. So those elements are woven into our program, but we're also ecumenical. So a person does not have to claim a particular faith in order to receive services from us. We also have effective thinking about the challenges of caregiving coupled with scripture, just changing the way that you think about your caregiving situation. Next slide, please. We have my favorite module, and it's one that's hard for me, but I'm working on it. I call it the me time module, or emotional well-being. Just being able to build in pleasant daily activities as a guard against emotional distress. Just negotiating, hey, I need 15 minutes to go and take a walk or to listen to your favorite type of music. We also work with our caregivers on communicating effectively, not only with the care partner with dementia, but with family and other health professionals. And then lastly, on developing those effective problem-solving skills through that personal goal setting. Next slide, please. Okay. As I mentioned before, one of the things we offer is dementia awareness training. Our Acts 2 staff, we deliver in-person and virtual dementia awareness training to family caregivers and interested parties. And some of the more common topics that we cover is the basic information about the characteristics and stages of dementia. We talk about risk factors for Alzheimer's disease and related conditions. And then we also talk about strategies for preventing or delaying the onset of dementia. Next slide, please. For our individual problem-solving consultation, as I said before, this is available to any person, regardless of race, regardless of location in the U.S. So 1 or 2 problem-solving sessions are delivered over our toll-free telephone by an Acts 2 staff member. The caregiver prioritizes 1 or 2 goals, and we work with them on developing an action plan. Some of the more common problems that we work with caregivers on are they're having difficulties with bathing and hygiene of their loved one. They're having challenges getting their loved one to eat, and then also difficulty getting help from family members. Next slide, please. For our information and referral consultation, also, once again, available to any person, regardless of race, regardless of location, in the U.S. So 1 or 2 INR sessions are also delivered over our toll-free telephone by an Acts 2 staff member. that caregiver will prioritize their information and referral goals, and we work with them on developing an action plan. So, some example INR concerns. Caregivers want to be able to identify affordable caregiving services. They want to find culturally responsive adult daycare centers. And then they want to locate effective estate planning assistance. Next slide, please. Here are some dementia care resources. There's the Florida Department of Elder Affairs. There's the Alzheimer's Association, the Alzheimer's Foundation of America, the Elder Helpline, the Elder Care Locator, and the Alzheimer's Disease Education and Referral Center. Next slide, please. Okay. If you're interested in learning more about Acts 2, or if you have a question, whether it be for information and referral or problem solving, there are multiple ways to contact us. You can contact us through telephone, email, or through the web. Our toll-free number is 1-866-778-2724. Once again, that's 1-866-778-2724. My local to Tallahassee cell phone number is 850-274-4945. My email address, tnnorton@fsu.edu. Or you can contact us here on Facebook at our Acts 2 Caregiver Project, or you can go to our website, which is www.acts2project.org. And what we're going to do now is take a tour of our website. If you would bring the website up, please. Okay. If you would click on Program of Services. One of the things we've done is we've tried to streamline our website so that information is easily accessible. So on our Program of Services page, you will find information on all of the things I just described about what we provide. It gives more in-depth information on our 12-session program and our problem solving and information and referral services that we provide. And dementia awareness training. If you would go back up and click on caregiver resources. What we've tried to do as well is there is a video archive of all of our live Facebook Live workshops that we've done. You can go into that archive and find all of those recordings there, because we do record and save all of our workshops. We have included information on prayers and readings. There's information on caregiver well-being, information on the basics of dementia. There's also information on some caregiver skills. So if you're having a problem, if your loved one is having a problem with sleeping, you can come to our resources page. And as you see, there's one that says managing sleep problems. So we have tried to include information that would be relevant and useful to our caregivers. Okay. If you would go back up, please, and go to the very top and click useful links. We have also provided links to resources not only within Florida, but also national resources. So you're able to click this page, click on the links on this page, and it will take you out to those national and Florida related resources. Okay. If you will go back, please, and click on donate. If you are interested in learning about how you may be interested in donating to Acts 2 or finding out how we are funded, you can come here to our donate page. Every single service that we provide in Acts 2, whether it is a 12 session group, if it's a dementia awareness presentation, every single thing that we provide is free. So we have provided information that gives details on how we are funded and if you're interested in donating. Okay. If you will go back and click on at the top, if you would click on contact. If you have a question about anything that you saw tonight, there's additional information that you may need, or if you're interested in signing up for the program, you can fill out this contact form and it will route directly to me. It'll route to my email. We've also provided, yet again, our toll-free number, my cell phone number, and my email address. And that concludes our brief tour of our Acts 2 website. I encourage you to go out and take a look at our website because there is a ton of very useful information. What we're now going to do is our panel discussion. So if you would bring everyone back on screen, please.
Thank you so much, Tomeka. That was so helpful, and I thought you did a fantastic job articulating the services that we offer the community and across the country. No charge, no cost will be incurred. Please reach out to us, and we do have approximately 18 to 19 minutes to follow up on questions. I know that we have an affirmation to share. Thank you, T. Mills. This was wonderful. It's so great to have you with us this evening. If it would be okay, I'd like to pick up on some of the key themes, Dr. Miles and Pastor Brett, that you brought to the table. One of your key messages was care partner or caregiver. Take care of yourself. This is not an act of selfishness to do that. I was wondering if you could both describe, Tomeka as well, what does it mean to take care of yourself in terms of your thinking, your feeling, and your behavior? We know it's not selfish, but what does it look like when you're taking care of yourself in your thinking, in your feelings, and in your actions as a care partner?
I can start, Rob. Let's start with thinking. Sometimes thinking is just so destructive. It doesn't help anything. So, what you do is you ask yourself, is what I'm thinking helping me or hurting me? If it's hurting you, you'll feel more and more upset. There'll be nothing to do. And that's when you want to go stop and apply your skills for peace of mind. Again, there are many resources with breath work, just breathing into it, doing the box breathing I mentioned, 4 in, hold it 4, 4 out. But don't let yourself continue down a road that's destructive and hurtful. Number 2 is when you do a body scan all day, you notice when you're holding tension and you go, okay, I am so wadded up. It's time to go for a walk. It's time to call a friend and vent. It's time to do something to get this out of my body because you're holding on to it. Um, all those tools are really, really important. So again, there's just a ton of resources, including your program. I heard Tomeka has relaxation practices and whatever. Listen, if you stay wadded up, it adds up.
Right.
So we're talking about doing things often, like Brett says, every day he gets up and walks the dog.
Mhm.
Every day. I saw a client this week who knew the tools, who uses yoga, who uses breath work. Her problem is she wasn't using them. She was just go, 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 pressure, pressure. She's taking care of a child who's very developmentally delayed. And so it's a real challenge for her. But the problem was she wasn't doing them all day long. So these are not things you do once in a blue moon. These are regular practices you do every single day.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Pastor Brett, your thoughts, please.
So, well, three things I think, early in the morning,
Brett, do you want to add?
yeah, I'm a firm believer in early morning and whatever that is for you. I'm not defining a time by that. I'm just saying from when you get up. The first thing, really taking, I'd say a 3-step strategy that has really helped me would be saturation, strategy, and then supplication. So in prayer, begin with saturation. I'm a big fan of the Abide app. I get a lot out of that, and just a lot of prayerful meditations there. That some of there's great music in there. Ending the night by having headphones on and listening to that and going to sleep with that on. Just some really good saturation prayer time, and waking up in the morning and allowing that to take place, getting in a walk, but then sitting down and having quiet time and prayer, and then allowing the strategy to come from God. I think opening up our hearts and like what we were talking about, where you understand this sense of calling makes all the difference in the world, and just to speak to it as a minister, I've been on a lot of panels to talk to guys who are going to go into the ministry, and they'll ask a lot of questions, about doing it and this, that, and the other. I've always asked just one question alone. I think it's the same question for caregivers. And the question is one word: why? If you have a strong answer for that, you'll stick with it. If you don't have a strong answer for that, then it's in question. So I think that strategy comes out of your greater why. Once you know your why, you can know your what. And when you know your what, you can know your how. And so understanding the strategy that you're receiving, and understanding what is God saying, and then and I would say even what's in your heart, beyond just your mind, what's in your heart, and then supplication, so that when you're praying, you're actually asking God for help, but based on what you realize through that time of just saturating and sitting down, calming down, and just listening. And receiving the strategy is here again. The reason that I feel like, sometimes I never felt any frustration with maybe if somebody else wasn't helping with caregiving, when we were with Dr. Miles, I never felt frustrated because I felt like this is a grace that's on my life. That doesn't mean it should be on somebody else's. So maybe somebody's watching right now and they're thinking, I have a brother or a sister, and why aren't they helping more? Well, maybe that grace isn't on their life. Maybe God has placed that grace on your life for a reason. Or maybe it's just, to speak to it, somebody who maybe that's not where they go with it. Maybe that's where your heart is, and someone else's heart isn't there, So if you can tell yourself that, then you can be okay with it. So I would say that saturation, strategy, then supplication, then asking, hey, God, give me the strength today to do what you're asking me to do.
That's so important, Pastor Brett. Thank you so much. Tomeka, I wonder, as a former care partner for your aunt, and your uncle, both of whom
Mhm.
had dementia. What was the calling for you?
Well, for people who know my story, know that my aunt took me when I was a year old. Um, and she was my person, and I was her person. She was always say that I was her baby from her heart, and so knowing that, I took that to heart. Um, and the one thing that I'm learning now, even as I talk to caregivers, um, the hard work is there. There's hard work and there's also hard work. And I think
Mm.
sometimes we forget that for as much as we're and a very wise woman is helping me walk through this even now, that for as much as we pour into everybody else, that it's okay to take 5 minutes, take 10 minutes, and do something for yourself. It's okay to have to step away from it for a moment and to take a breath, or to go outside and touch some grass, or go and look at some trees. It's okay to take that break away from it. Doesn't mean that we love our persons that we're caring for, that we love them any less. Well, like Pastor Brett said earlier, you can't pour from an empty cup. And I don't drink coffee, but my husband always tells me that the bottom of the cup is real bitter at the bottom of the cup. And
Yeah.
so you can't pour from an empty cup. And it's okay to do some things that bring joy to your own life. If we bring joy to our own life, I feel that if I can bring that joy into my life, then I'm more likely to spread that joy, not only to the person that I'm caring for, but the other people around me, and they can see me as an example of, hey, she might be caregiving, and yes, I know every day might not be an easy day, but I'm watching this person walk through it with grace. I'm watching them walk through it with some dignity. And so I think we all have to try to be that example. Even when we don't know people, people are always watching. So even when you don't know people are watching, it's how you show up in those moments when things are hard. That makes the difference.
Amen. Just to let you know, folks, Dr. Miles lost internet connection. We're trying to help her to get back on for her final thoughts. But she certainly had a number of thoughts that were very powerful to share. I do have another question for you, Pastor Brett.
Sure.
Another theme: balance is not perfection.
Right.
Balance is not perfection. And I do think that that is a very important message because as a care partner, all of us have been care partners on this panel. Many folks say, well, do you have balance? Are you taking care of yourself? What's the reality of that statement? Is it all or none? How do you know when you're more balanced versus out of balance?
Yes. Well, to return to one of the things that we were saying is make sure this is what you should be doing. If it is, then you'll have a joy about it that is almost impossible to understand. It's like well, I was sitting there reading on Philippians today, where Paul wrote a letter to the Philippians, and he was explaining to them, be anxious for nothing, but by everything through prayer and supplication, make your requests be known to God, and the peace of God that surpasses all understanding will guard your heart and mind in Christ Jesus. I think that there's a peace that comes on you when you're doing what you're supposed to do. So that's number one. And number two, and I'll say this, even when you do have that peace, you still have to take care of yourself emotionally. You still have to, it's kind of like, I was talking to someone about leadership recently. which is a big thing I have in my heart. I said, it's like going to the gym, and getting in shape. You don't go to the gym and get in shape so that you can go back to eating donuts for breakfast every morning. If you do, it'll take away all the gains that maybe you made. And so I think it's the same way with emotional health. You don't just say, well, I'm gonna get here and okay. Like it's a trophy you're gonna win. I won this trophy. I'm where I need to be. No, it's a constant thing you're going to return to. And it has to be a daily practice that not only are you in the grace of doing what you're supposed to be doing, but you're also doing it in the way that you should be doing it. And that's having your pillars in place, having your mental pillars in place, that you're taking that time to meditate and get quiet, that you're using music. I use a lot of focused music during the day and really go out of the way to have that going on, that you're getting your emotions in check, not just your mental, but also your emotions, that you're guarding your heart and you're paying attention to your emotions. You're paying attention to when it's starting to get away from you. Like my mother brought up, leaving the room. She certainly taught me those techniques, taught me a little too well, because I could tell when she's using them on me. So, okay, I get it. I must have bothered you on that one. I mean, but having that understanding of yourself and knowing where your limits are and knowing when you've crossed them is really important. And then also the physical aspect, that you are taking time to hydrate, that you are taking time to get sunlight in your eyes, that you are taking time to watch. A great question to ask is, when's the last time you watched the sunset? When is the last time you watched the leaves blow on the trees? When's the last time you noticed? When's the last time that when was the last time that you felt the wind? So I think that's, and I think the other piece in this is, during that time, I had always wanted to do a triathlon. I got to do one during the time that I was caregiving with Dr. Miles. And so that got my mind on something else for a few hours every day. And I think that that's really good to have some kind of hobby. Today, I don't do it well, but I go out and I went out to the waves here. I live in New Smyrna Beach area. So I saw this guy, he must have been in his late 60s, and he just came surfing right over me. I'm paddling out and he just surfs right over me. And I thought, I want to be like that guy. But that's something for me, getting out in the waves and getting out into nature and doing that. Pastoring is demanding work. So making sure that there's something like that in your life, that you're doing something physically that brings you relaxation. Maybe that's long walks on the beach. Maybe that's whatever. But I think that the key here is having that pillar of the mental, having that pillar of the spiritual, having that pillar of the emotional, and having that pillar of the physical. That you're taking care of all aspects of your life, and that you, as the caregiver, if you're looking out for those 4 areas, and you've kind of got a dashboard on what that looks like. One last thing I would say on that is, have someone in your life who notices. I've got a really good friend, Pastor Kevin Bordeaux. We talked for an hour and a half today. He's up in Virginia, and I call him, and I can notice when he's out of touch, and he knows when I am. He knows all about me, and he knows what triggers me, and knows how to help me, ask me the right questions when those things are going on. So I have a good friend that can really get into your life. And of course I think she would say this, my mother's a good friend to me, and she's not just my mother, but she's a great friend. And she certainly knows, she knows when I'm out of whack and is able to help me with that. So I would say, have those pillars in your life, and have a person around you that's willing to be honest with you and willing to share with you when they see you getting out of balance. I hope that helps. I hope that is
very, very helpful.
agree.
We're coming to a close now, unfortunately. Well, now it's perfect timing. You've just come for the final thought, Dr. Miles. So,
Yes.
I'm back.
yeah, well, we're just delighted to have you back. We're at a point where it would be really good to hear a final thought about this evening's workshop from each of you. And we'll start out with Tomeka Norton-Brown, give Dr. Miles a little bit of time to think. And Pastor Brett has just shared with us some very useful approaches for self-care. Tomeka?
My final thought would be to give yourself some grace. I talk to caregivers all day, and many who are even on here tonight. Give yourself some grace, even in the hard times. There's still grace. In the good times, there's grace. In the times where you just don't know where to turn next, there's always grace. So my thing is give yourself some grace and take advantage of each and every resource that's available to you. The only silly question is the one that's never asked. You can't get help. You can't get help that you don't ask for. And so I'm a big proponent of take advantage of resources. Use your intuition. If you're talking to someone and you can tell that it does not line up with, if your spirit is telling you maybe not, find somebody else to talk to. There's always somebody that has an open ear and an open heart. Just be open to receiving the information and the help that's available to you.
Thank you so much, Tomeka Norton-Brown. Dr. Miles, did we give you enough time to create a final thought?
100%. First of all, I'm sorry I disappeared. I don't know what happened, but I had to drink my own Kool-Aid because I sort of panicked. And then I had to use my tools, which was okay, do deep breathing, which is the same tools you use with someone with dementia. Do deep breathing. Something I didn't mention is it helps to just label the emotion you're feeling without giving thoughts to it. So I went frustration, frustration, frustration. Instead of giving it a story, I gave it a word. And sometimes that can short circuit all those negative stories we tell ourselves. I really want to acknowledge Tomeka Norton-Brown and Rob Glukoff for the incredible work they do for reaching out to caregivers who are so challenged. And the caregivers, thank you for all you do.
Thank you so much. By the grace of God only. Thank you. Pastor Brett, your final thought, please.
Well, I think my final thought would be is if you've made it this far and you're still watching, you are taking that step. You are taking self-care, and you are getting resources, and you are doing these things. So, good for you. I wanted to be able to say that to whoever's watching.
And I just wanted to thank you, the three of you, for your contributions and your thoughts this evening. I do want to affirm the notion of, for my wife and for you, Dr. Miles, and you, Pastor Brett. Tomeka's heard this from me many times. My wife is my teacher. My calling is that she was there for me when I needed her support. And there's nothing more important to me to be available to her, knowing at the same time that I have to take care of myself, because if I don't, then the implications for her are negative. But I can honestly say that my wife is my teacher.
That's good.
She taught me how to love, and I'm grateful to her for that.
I feel the same way, Rob, about my husband. And he was literally my teacher. And then with his dementia, he became a different kind of teacher, teaching me acceptance and balance and appreciation and a lot of things that were very valuable for me.
Well, thank you. Just wanted to encourage the audience to please follow us on Acts 2's Caregiver Project Facebook. Our next workshop, I think, will be particularly helpful. We're going to focus on state and county supported home-based services in caring for loved ones with dementia. Please join us on Facebook for this important event, and we'll be providing the dates and times to you shortly. Thank you so much. What a great evening. Thank you, Dr. Miles. Thank you, Pastor Brett Cooper. Thank you, Tomeka Norton-Brown, for a wonderful evening. We love you.
Love you back.